Guys, so last week we talked about how to actually make this portion of an artificial nail. We've got our clear extension built off of a nail form, and we're just going to start with a square shape. You'll notice the sidewalls do go down a little bit lower than what I want them to, but that's going to allow me to finish file. So all we really did was put on a nail form, apply our base coat, and also create the extension, and then we did pinch it to create a nice C curve underneath the nail as well, okay? So if you didn't watch last week's video, please go back and watch that so you can follow along with today's video. So here I'm going to actually use a thin gel to do the rest of this nail. This extension gel, the thicker gel is great for the extension because it doesn't move around. It gives you the optimal control, but I want to be able to have the rest of the nail built with a self-leveling gel in order to make my life a lot easier. So I'm going to show you guys kind of a medium thick gel to give some of you guys a little bit of a break. So if you're looking for something that's going to be a little bit easier to start with, try and go with something that's a little bit of a medium thick. Okay, so I'm going to start first with a wet layer. I always start with a wet layer, or some people call it a slip layer. What this does is it allows the gel that I'm going to apply on my nail, it's going to allow it to self-level. So I'm just going to put some gel on the nail, and I'm just going to paint the whole nail, get it all the way to close to the cuticle area, make sure I get the sidewalls without touching the skin, and just get the whole nail wet with the same gel that I'm going to use to create the actual body of the nail. Okay, so now the nail is wet with gel. I'm going to pick up a nice dollop. And if you guys want to see what I'm doing, let me move my gel on camera, okay? So you can see that this gel does self-level, but it self-levels really, really slowly. So this is a nice option for people that are looking for something that is going to give them, self-leveling, but it's also moving slower, so they're not going to be rushing. So I'm just going to I'm going to dip my brush in, pick up some gel, a nice bead, and then you can touch the side to break the string, or you can go up and down to break that string. But really what I want to have is just a nice dollop of gel on one side of my brush. Try and keep it on one side if possible, okay? So then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to barely touch the surface of the nail. So if I turn this to the side, okay, I'm not pushing into the gel, I'm just barely touching and making contact, and you can see it's going to start to self-level with the wet layer that I already put on, okay? So I'm just going to kind of push this gel up to the cuticle area. I don't have to touch the cuticle area because remember, this gel does self-level. I don't even have to get that close to the sidewalls because this gel is going to self-level and it's going to create the shape for me. And I'm just going to walk this out onto the tip, okay? Now if I run out, I can go back, grab some more gel, push into the gel that I already have on the nail, make contact, and then I can continue to walk this all the way to the tip. And I'm really just focusing on the center part of the nail. I'm not worried about the sides. I'm not worried about all of that because it is going to self-level, and I want those to be thin anyway. So you can see already from the side, it's pretty dang smooth, and that's with me doing this on camera. I'm not able to do things as quickly as I normally would, okay? But you can see it's already self-leveling. Now, if things get out of control, one way you can fix this is, while it's still wet, just put your finger perfectly pointing down towards your table. The gravity is going to help you get that gel back into the center, and you'll see what I mean in just a second. So now from the side, can you see how I've got like a big hump here from where I was pointing it downward? So if you ever had the gel running into the sides and you're like, oh my gosh, I need more time to fix this, just turn your finger upside down. And depending on what part of your finger, if you tilt this up a little bit, you'll even see this big hump start to run back towards my cuticle just ever so slightly. Let's see if I can do it this way so you guys can see. So I've got that hump of product. So if you point your finger upside down, you can even do it with all of your fingers if you're doing it on all of them, but just point your finger upside down for a second. It'll weight that gel in the center, and then you'll have a crazy hump on top, but at least you won't have gel in the cuticles, which is much more difficult to fix than too much gel on the top of your nail, okay? So that's just this kind of thicker medium gel. You can see I get a little bit of bubbling when I'm doing this on camera, and also with a thicker gel sometimes you get bubbles. Bubbles are really just unsightly. It's not a major issue, but I can also scrape this off. So let me just take off the gel that I just applied. I'm going to put it back in my jar. And just like that, I can practice again. So don't worry if you mess this up. You can practice over and over and over again until you get it right. And now I've just removed all of that gel that I had on there. I've got my wet layer still because I still have wet gel on my nail. You can see that I can really squeegee that off and get back to basically just that extension that I had on my nail. So this is a great way to practice without wasting product. Okay, let's use an even thinner gel so you guys can see the difference. So with an even thinner gel, when I pick it up, it's going to be even more slippery, more syrupy. And you'll even hear some nail techs use the word an obscene amount of gel. So it's just like a crazy amount of gel on your brush. If you use more, you're going to get a better overall application, and it seems nuts, but just touch the gel down in the center of your nail away from the cuticle area. Rock the gel up towards your cuticle ever so slightly, and then tip your finger down, and all you have to do is just walk the gel down the center of the nail, and it'll do everything else for you, okay? So can you see how I just got all that gel on there? And then it will self-level. You can help it out a little bit. Just barely touch the gel where you want it to go. But because I've got that wet layer, if I give it a second, it will perfectly self-level for me. Can you see that? Okay, so I'm just gonna turn this upside down for a second since I'm doing this on camera and I don't wanna mess it up. But in real life, what I would do is as soon as I'm done with this nail application, I would go ahead and I would flash cure it and move on to the next finger. But I just wanted to show you guys how to apply the actual body portion of the nail. Sometimes it's also easier if you do this with your hand this way. So this way is also great, but I also recommend if you're doing this on yourself, point your finger towards yourself so that you can angle your finger down while you're working, and you're going to be able to kind of evenly apply things on both sides of your nail. Okay, so now I have my gel applied, and you can see that my sidewalls are definitely too low, but we're going to file that. But the goal here is to have a nice smooth application of gel all the way down the nail. You can see how nice and shiny and smooth it is. Those lines of light are really straight. It's exactly what we want, okay? And then also, if I look at it down the barrel, you can see that I've got a nice concentration of product in the center of the nail. So right in here, this little mohawk area, and I've got it still thin on the sidewalls. So this is going to end up filing into a really nice nail. I've got the C curve for me pinching the actual extension, and then I've got the gel on top to create the overall body of the nail. So at this point, what we can do is we can actually clean the nail, remove the tacky layer on the nail, and then we're going to show you how to, I'm going to show you guys how to finish file this nail into the perfect shape. So when you clean the nail, make sure you really scrub back and forth and pull away from your finger. That way you're not going to get uncured product up onto your skin. The tacky layer, like I've shown you guys in previous videos, is uncured product, and we don't want that on our skin. So just do a nice job of cleaning. And again, you can see how nice and smooth and shiny this nail is. This is going to be really good. And once we get it finish filed, it's going to be absolutely perfect. We've already got the general shape that we want. So we've already got basically a square nail just from the way that we applied our form and the way we applied our extension gel. And then we've got a nice concentration of product down the center of the nail to create that strength. And we've got an apex in here, but we need to finish file this nail to make the shape nice and perfect, okay? So don't worry about if you've got a little bit of product back here, a little bit of excess. You can absolutely fix this. But the key to it is using more gel than you actually need on your brush. Don't paint in layers. I want you guys to be using that big dollop, practicing swooping that product over the nail. Because if you guys are painting this on like it's nail polish and you're doing it in multiple layers, you're going to get a really lumpy nail, okay? So I'm going to show you guys how to file this in next week's video. Again, I'm breaking this down into bits and pieces so that you guys can practice each portion. Doing extensions is not easy the first time that you do it. And I remember when I was watching tutorials, I would see these tutorials that made it go super fast, and I couldn't keep up and I couldn't figure it out. So I wanted to break this down step by step, and then I'm going to do an actual extension for you in real time, all in one video once we get these portions done, okay? So practice this for this week, and then I will see you guys in next week's video so we can practice how to finish file this nail.